Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. This is part 3 of What If Deku Became Batman, and as always, please, if you like the video, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. It all helps the channel, it all helps the video, it all, is good for the content nonetheless. And yeah, that's all I really got to say. Also, check the link in the description. I have a Discord. Almost forgot that. But yeah, now that's all I got to say. Because I don't want to waste much more of your time. And I want to get right into the what if. So let's get it. Izuku Midoriya faces down a ton of Nomus. And we're talking 10s, 20, 30 Nomus at least. Everybody staring at these Nomus in complete and utter shock. Or really, he's staring at the Nomus in complete and utter shock. And he's ready to take them all on. Because it seems as if this was all a trap made for him to fail. But he refuses to leave that notion in the truth, because he doesn't want to fail. So what does he do? He lets everything go. He starts absolutely beating on these Nomus, running through every single one of them as quick as possible. Beating, destroying, and all of the above. He tries absolutely everything in his arsenal. He decides to kind of crank up One For All to an even higher limit that he really never does. And he begins to finally smash through these Nomus. And as he's knocking and beating every single one of them, he finally is getting to the last couple. And with his whole body basically on the verge of falling apart, with his whole body kind of feeling this stress of fighting all these Nomus, his body bloodied, battered, tattered, and everything. He comes down to these last few Nomus, defeating them, and there's just a pile of just bodies everywhere. There is Nomus laying dormant on the ground, unable to move, and Izuku stands there. His suit torn to shreds, his body tattered, bruised, bloodied. Even the blood of many of these other creatures kind of cover him as well. And he stands there with complete determination in his eyes. Determination that he refused to lose. Determination that he refused to allow to waver. But this would force Izuku into something he wasn't expecting. He would force Izuku into becoming something that initially he thought he was, but now he truly is. Because he would begin to kind of avoid this academia portion of everything. Initially, everybody would search for him. UA, police, everything. But they couldn't find him. They couldn't find him, not one bit. But Izuku, where he's at this place. A very tall building that nobody knows about. A building that was now created to be his hideout. An abandoned building that is a bit of a construction site. And Izuku would look over the entire city, the entire country. Would look over Japan itself, and he'd be looking down, and he would be thinking. He'd be thinking that if he wants to be the hero he's supposed to be, he needs to do it now. He stands on the building looking down, and all he can think about is the potential that he has. All he can think about is everything that went wrong. Everything. They tried to take him away from his learning, from his academia, from learning to be a hero, the hero he wants to be. But it made him realize that they need him now more than ever. That they need him before things go too far off the rails. With Shigaraki, with Kurogiri already put away, he knows that All For One needs to go down. And that is all he can think about. But before that could even happen, everybody wonders what happened to Izuku. Days would go by, weeks would go by, and eventually they would start going on their internships with the assumption that Izuku is gone, that he might even be passed away. And everybody believes that they didn't do a good enough job to protect one of their students. But one day, when everybody's at a standstill, when Izuku is standing on a building waiting, he hears something. He hears something that would make him question some things. Because he hears the words of someone he once knew. He hears the words of Tenya Ida talking to somebody, saying that he's going to get his revenge and that he is going to feel the same pain that his brother felt. In which Izuku is confused by this, but as he looks over, he can see the hero killer opposite of Tenya Ida. The hero killer threatening Tenya Ida and is about to take him out for good. Well, Tenya would stand there as he tries to fight, but he can't fight. He stands no chance against the hero killer. That's until Izuku would glide down and kick the hero killer directly into a wall. Izuku, with now donning a mask, with now donning his suit, now donning the true Caped Crusader of the Batman persona, tells Tenya to get out of here right now, or else. Izuku looks back at the hero killer, and the hero killer would look at him and say that it's impressive, extremely impressive. He deems Izuku as a true hero. He was taken away, got rid of by one of the most powerful villains ever. He was just a kid. He was just a student. But what did he do? He fought. He scratched. He clawed his way back up. And now he's here to save people. Just like All Might. Izuku would look at the hero killer and tell him that he's wrong. That he is not like All Might. He's far from All Might. This right here, this is where he believes heroes should be. Heroes should be out when it's dark, when it's absolutely terrifying, instilling fear in every villain so they never come out to hurt anybody ever again. Izuku would begin to fight the hero killer, and initially the hero killer believes them to be evenly matched in combat skills. But Izuku begins to crank up his one for all and even starts utilizing something that he's been working on, utilizing something known as a Black Whip. He begins to utilize Black Whip in a way that, well, everybody would be surprised to ever see if they did see him, and Tenya himself is surprised as well, believing that this must be just another technology, but it's not. It is part of Izuku. It is part of his arsenal of utilizing one for all and utilizing his quirks. He begins to absolutely beat on the hero killer, slamming him into the walls, into the ground, and eventually knocking him out. He would then cuff the hero killer with quirk-canceling cuffs, believing that he needed to make sure that he was restricted and contained. He would kind of tape up the hero killer entirely with everything he has, with all of his gadgets, by the way, which is still a plethora of things, and he would have him completely restrained. Tenya would be on the ground in shock as Izuku would grab him by the shirt and help him up, telling Tenya to go back to the other place, or go back to UA, go back to everybody else, learn, get stronger, get better, everything. Don't seek vengeance, don't seek revenge, don't leave that for others, leave that to him. That Izuku says that he will protect everybody that he needs to protect. And as he sends Black Whip up top of the building, he streams himself back up there, slinging back up as if he's some sort of, kind of like grappling hook of some sorts, you could even say. And Izuku would watch as Endeavor would even arrive, and many other heroes would arrive as well. But Izuku would be gone without a trace, gone without anybody noticing, and everybody would begin hearing rumors about Izuku Midoriya, that he's still alive, that he is this Batman figure, that he is this vigilante that is currently scouring around Japan, that he is now at large. And everybody is wondering, what are they really going to do? He's always done good. and he continues to do only good things. So why would they try and go capture him? They have villains to go handle, villains to go capture. But Izuku, well, he stays hidden away for a while. He just only comes out during the night for the most part, saving just people he could save, right? He stops villains, and frankly, it helps a lot with the crime rate. It begins to plummet. Izuku's just presence alone starts affecting the amount of crimes that currently happen. And it continues to go on this way for quite a while. And Izuku would continue kind of researching and trying to find out where All For One currently is, because that is what he needs to find out. Izuku wants to find out where All For One is, where could he possibly be, and also how are they going to deal with him, because he's dead serious about taking this guy out, putting him behind bars, and basically protecting the country of Japan forever. He wants to make sure that this stands, that All For One isn't allowed to continue on with his reign of terror, and he would eventually get that opportunity, because Izuku would be searching for All For One, and eventually he would find him. Eventually he would come across the building, and this is where All For One currently is. This is where All For One is currently residing. All For One is waiting, but at the same time, he's wondering if Izuku's really going to go through with ending him, because that's what's going to need to happen. If he wants to win, if Izuku wants to win, he's going to have to kill him. Or at least that's what All For One is believing in his own head, and what All For One kind of makes very known when Izuku confronts him. Izuku tells him that he's battered countless Nomus. He's battered everything that All For One has ever sent after him, and now he continues to cut down the villain world, and frankly, he'll continue to just decimate the villain world so that there's nothing left, so that there's not a single thing that is going to need to be worried about. That every single thing that All For One tries to portray, every single thing that All For One tries to uphold, it will all come crumbling to dust, and he will make sure of all of it. That everything that All For One does, there's no way he will win. There is no way that he will be victorious in it all. In which Izuku would have his standoff, and as they have this standoff, well, All For One tells him that he's going to have to kill him. That the only way to stop him is to end him. In which Izuku looks at him and shakes his head and tells him that there's always another way. But for the sake of this entire world, and for the sake of everybody, he would. That he would end All For One if he really needed to end him. But he tells All For One that for now, this isn't the only option. As Izuku is saying these things, he hears a loud crash through the wall. A crash what seems to be what he was expecting. He would throw a batarang immediately at All For One, as All For One would be able to block it, but Izuku would use it to kind of restrict All For One, as this cement-like substance would kind of ground him, as All Might himself would come barreling through the wall, landing a punch, sending All For One through another wall, sending him outside into the streets. All Might would then dash out and begin trying to fight All For One. Izuku would see as the other heroes would converge on him, but Izuku would throw a smoke bomb on the ground and leave without a trace. As he would sit on top of a building, Izuku would await an opening that he can fight alongside All Might once again. All Might would get basically hit with a black tendril of some sorts, and he would try to back up and recover. As this is happening, Izuku would come spiraling in, basically flying at a really high speed, crashing into All For One. As he does this, he would begin to fight All For One, landing crucial blows, and then leading to basically Izuku and All Might standing side by side, ready to take on All For One and ending this for good. They would clash with All For One, fight with All For One, and would begin to beat All For One. And it seems as if everybody is watching this kind of new generation of heroes transcend, because they all know who this guy is. It is no secret who Izuku is. There is no kind of complicated action in terms of it all. But as Izuku begins to kind of fight All For One, and they would get a massive opening, and frankly they would have this kind of just easy time defeating him, as All For One is being cuffed and defeated, or about to be cuffed and fully defeated, and as All Might himself really isn't in that big of jeopardy himself, in terms of losing as much as One For All as he normally would have. Izuku would be kind of ready to restrict and cuff All For One, but All For One would tell him that he really should think about the choice that he's making. Really think about the choice that he's basically choosing, and he shows Izuku something. A picture on a phone and a video to go alongside it of his mother captured, and All For One tells Izuku that if he wants to know where she is and wants to save her, that he needs to beat him. As basically All For One points at All Might himself, Izuku would look at All Might and would have the phone in his hand, as Izuku would kind of put something on the phone, or is what seems to be on the phone, and he tosses it on the ground. Izuku would look toward All Might and tell All Might that there is no choice here anymore, that there is only one action and only one action that can be made. And he begins to fight All Might. All Might and him go back and forth as if they're kind of basically clashing with each other. But Izuku's technique and his ability to learn fighting styles is overwhelming All Might. So much so that it really feels like the fight is swaying so heavily in this young man's favor. It seems as if the student has already become the master. It seems as if Izuku's already at such a high level, a way higher level than All Might even himself. He would be basically landing crucial blows to All Might and would then throw him over his shoulders, slamming him on the ground. Izuku would have basically his foot up to All Might's neck, and All For One would tell him to do it, that he has to end him or he'll never know where his mother is. He'll never be able to find basically his mother, and that she will die, that they will end her for good. But as he puts his foot closer to All Might's neck, as he's about to bear down on it, he would hear a buzzing in his own mask, and then he would hear a voice. The voice would be his mother, and the heroes would say that they have her. Izuku would smirk as he would help up All Might and immediately knock out All For One with a batarang. All Might would immediately tell him that he could tell that it was all a ruse pretty quickly, because the blows that he was taking from Izuku, they were not very serious. They looked very serious, but they didn't hit hard at all. Izuku was pulling his punches drastically, only utilizing a small tiny bit of One For All, and immediately, of course, All Might could understand and kind of figured out what he was doing. And All For One, he was none the wiser. He had no idea that this final gambit would fall flat on its face, and he would be arrested and put in prison for the rest of his life. Izuku tells All Might that he has to stay away from the schools and continue being the hero that he is now, being a vigilante, because frankly, he doesn't know what else is to come. But this is how he could use One For All to its highest degree. And he knows it to be a fact. That everybody else, being around everybody else, well, it's just restricting. Being around everyone else is putting others in a comparable position, in which All Might tells him that he gets it, that he understands. And that, frankly, the only laws that he's really broken are the ones involving not having a hero license. And everything else he's done, it's pretty much by the book, in terms of morality sense of a hero, in which All Might tells him that they'll work on something, they'll work on something very soon where he can be independent and also get some kind of like legality to it, in which that's exactly what they do, granting him some sort of provisional hero license, but keeping him separate from many others, in which everything he does now will now be kind of headed by All Might himself, and the other students would continue on with working through their own studies. Izuku himself has already granted at a college level on almost every single subject and every single thing known to man. I mean, his quirk is perfect for learning, and he has passed and excelled at everything. So in terms of being in high school, he doesn't really need to be. And that's exactly what occurs. Izuku going independent and also kind of dealing with things a completely different way. And with now All Might on his side and with All Might to help him, it seems like his hero journey will continue to accelerate. But a new challenge and a new thing for him to deal with will come up very, very shortly when dealing with someone known as Overhaul. Now, with limited information, he'll have to basically team up with a past sidekick of even All Might himself, known as Sir Night-Eye. But we're gonna have to wait till the finale to hear what happens to Izuku, basically in the final part of What If Deku Became Batman. And if you enjoyed, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.